to Joey with Love is a brilliant episode of Full House. This is the 5th episode of Season 8. It's directed by Joel Zwick. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. I don't know if I'd say it's one of my all-time favourites, but it might be one of my favourites from Season 8. It starts off with a fun magic trick with Stephanie in the intro. It's unusual for Stephanie to be in the intro in recent seasons. And she's doing a magic trick with Nicky and Alex where they're inside the tube and Nicky's at one end and Alex is at the other, and it looks like they've been stretched out, or one of them has been stretched out. Good fun. Becky was there as well. Really great way to start things off. We then have two main parts to the narrative, and I'll talk about Jesse and Danny first, and then I'll talk about Joey and Michelle. And Jesse is auditioning for his new band, and Danny really wants to audition, but Jesse doesn't really want to be in a band with Danny. And I think that's fair. I think living with somebody and then also being in a band with them, I feel like it's going to get a little bit too much. So I don't blame Jesse for not wanting to be in a band. But there are a lot of people there to audition, and Danny also gets a chance to play, and he's amazing. Not that I know anything about guitar playing. I played guitar very briefly and I wasn't very good at it. But he was incredible, and he came so close to Jesse just saying, I can't deny that you're brilliant. It's yours. But then Viper turns up. Viper is played by David Lipper, and I think he's a pretty interesting character. He seemed quite nice. DJ certainly seemed to like him, and he and Danny basically play at the same time. It's like they're battling to the death, and it's a brilliant scene, and I thought it worked really well. And ultimately, Viper was the one invited to join Jesse, and I think Danny took it in good spirits, and it was really pleasant, and I really like it. I like the fact as well that Jesse is feeling more positive about his music career over the last few episodes. He's obviously had a lot of conflicting feelings about this, and it's not great to see Jesse feeling like he's losing his love of music, whereas I think it was apparent that it wasn't so much his love of music that he was losing. It was more so a frustration at the fact that he wasn't with the Rippers anymore and things weren't going the way he hoped, and it's nice to see that bit of spark back with Jesse. So it's an enjoyable part of the narrative. Then we come to Joey and Michelle, and I really love this part of the story. Mrs. Carruthers comes over flirting with Joey. She's such a great character. I feel like in real life she would drive me crazy, but she's absolutely fantastic. Marcia Wallace is just brilliant. And we also find out that Michelle is actually having substitute teachers, so it's suggested that maybe Joey could substitute teach the class because he does have a teaching certificate and the job is his. And just before he comes into the room, Michelle prepares the class for all of the laughter they're going to experience. And Michelle and the kids do think that initially when Joey is talking, he's joking around, but it becomes very clear very quickly that Joey is there to teach and that he is taking it seriously, which is admirable. It's definitely admirable that he is taking this seriously and knowing that there's a lot of value in their education, but Michelle and the others just want him to goof around and do voices. And honestly, it gets uncomfortable, but I don't disagree with what Joey did, because the class was getting really rowdy, really noisy, and he said to them, the next person to make a peep is going to the principal's office, and the next person to make a peep, telling Joey to lighten up, was Michelle. And of course he has to stick to his word. He can't just say, well, I won't send you because you're Michelle, and he sends her, and the next thing we know, the kids are calling him Mr. Madstone, which I have to say is clever, and they're giving him the silent treatment. And he's trying to teach them. They're not engaging, but then they've got one of those pull-down maps in front of the chalkboard, and he gets into a bit of a bother with it, and it makes the children laugh. And I think in that moment, hearing them laughing at him, I think it made him realise that, well, as he knows, he feeds off of that laughter. He loves to perform for an audience, and I think in that moment he just couldn't resist entertaining the children, especially as they'd spent a few minutes completely ignoring him, which has to hurt. So I think that laughter and that engagement gave him fuel to, I guess, have a bit of fun, and he lives for that laughter, and the kids end up going crazy, and then it seems like he's going to be getting into a bit of trouble for I guess, not being able to control the class, Mrs. Homewood talks with him and he comes back into the room saying that he's going to have to leave. But the children want him to stay, which is so sweet. I love that they didn't drag out the silent treatment for too long. I think the pacing of that was great. And there is ultimately a great message that's delivered, as Joey explains. You can learn and have fun at the same time, which is absolutely true. And he shows them this egg in a bottle thing, and he was really, really great with them. And honestly, I think he would be a great teacher, especially early years education, and certainly with experiments and things like art projects. In fact, anything. I imagine Joey would just bring any lesson to life. And if he chose to go down that path as a career, I think he'd do a really great job with it. As he shows, he can take it seriously, but he can still be fun and engaging. It's all about Joey as a teacher striking a balance, as much as it is the children realizing that they have to learn, but they can also have fun. I think there are lessons for both parties there, and I think they did a really great job of explaining it. And of course, it's just great fun. It is so fun to watch Joey having a great time, the children having a great time. Yeah, it is uncomfortable at times, especially when he sends Michelle to the principal's, particularly when a little later Joey gets called out of the classroom because the children are going a bit crazy. There are some uncomfortable moments. The silent treatment, that's not pleasant to experience either, but it's necessary to make the great moments great and to really reinforce some really important messages for the children and for Joey, people in Joey's position. And I love it. I think it's brilliant. And then, of course, we have Mrs. Carruthers, who's just really brilliant as well. As I said, I think To Joey with Love might be one of my favourites from season 8. Not sure if it would be my favourite overall, but I do tend to have a soft spot for the ones that focus on Joey. We don't get as many Joey-centric stories as we do with other characters. Often with Joey, it's here's Joey's new girlfriend, and then we'll never see them again. And then he has another new date, and then we'll never see them again. Or it's Joey being upset that he doesn't have a date. That's, for the most part, what we get out of Joey. Occasionally we'll have some look at his career, but often that's alongside Jesse. So to have something that's specifically for Joey, celebrating Joey with some great messages for Joey, I think that's a really brilliant thing. And needless to say, it's a delightful episode. It's good fun. Yes, there are a couple of occasions where it's maybe a little uncomfortable because, yeah, I understand why Michelle would be upset that her Uncle Joey sent her to the principal's office. That's going to sting, but he has to treat her fairly. He has to treat her like everybody else. I think he did a great job, and needless to say, I think To Joey with Love, it's a pretty fantastic episode of Full House.